Welcome back to Mo's Learning Moments. And today we're going to read a book about a little girl called Katie, and she's in a place called London. Now I'm going to show you different things that are in London, and maybe when I'm reading the book then you can spot them. So we're going to start. This is a black cab. So if you take a ride in a taxi or a cab in London, this is the one that you normally see, a black cab. And this is a London bus. They're always normally red. And this is a telephone box where you can make a telephone call. And they're always normally red as well. And this is a bridge called the Tower Bridge. And this is the London Eye that you can sit in and go round and see lots of places in London. And these are the Houses of Parliament. And this is an abbey called Westminster Abbey. And this is a post box. And look, that's red too. This is Buckingham Palace, where the Queen lives. And this is Big Ben. It's a famous clock that tells the time, but that reaches high up, and it's called Big Ben. This is a lion who's in the story today. So I'm going to read the book, and you see, can you spot some of the things I just showed you? Katie in London. London seemed very big to Katie. Big trains, big buildings, and big crowds. She held on to Grandma with one hand and her little brother Jack with the other. They all got on to a big red bus and set off to see the sights. But when they got off at Trafalgar Square, Grandma was tired. "I'll just have a little rest," she yawned. "You two stay by that line and I'll know where you are." Katie climbed onto the big bronze line and pulled Jack up after her. As the sun came out, the line seemed to turn from grey to gold. "Do you mind?" said a very deep voice. It was the line. "Who said you could clamber all over me?" he asked. "We're very sorry," said Katie. "Grandma said to stay with you." "Then I suppose you must," sighed the line. "Now what shall we do?" We wanted to see the sights, but Grandma fell asleep," said Katie. "Can you take us?" "Oh yes, please do," said Jack. The lion shook his mane. "Hold on tight," he roared, bounding out of Trafalgar Square. My goodness, how all the people stared, but the lion didn't mind. "This is much better than lying on that stone all day," he said. "You have no idea how cold my tummy gets. Now where shall we go?" "You choose," yelled Katie and Jack. The lion took them to St. Paul's Cathedral first. They gazed up at the enormous dome. "It makes me feel very small," said Jack. "It makes me feel very dizzy," laughed the lion. "But off we must go, as there's still so much to see." Next, the lion took Katie and Jack to an old castle. "The Tower of London," said the lion. "Ghosts of kings and queens haunt the towers." Katie shivered and held Jack's hand. "Don't worry, they only come out after midnight," said the lion. "But you can see their jewels and crowns." The crown jewels were in a small special room. It was quite a tight squeeze for the lion. The jewels sparkled like stars in a night sky, but in all sorts of colours: green emeralds, red rubies and blue sapphires. Afterwards, the lion pretended he was a ghost and chased Katy and Jack. "Excuse me," called a man in an old-fashioned costume, "but you're scaring my ravens." "Who's he?" whispered Katy. "He's a yeoman warder," said the lion. "He thinks that the towers will fall down if the ravens leave. I think it's time to go." The lion decided to carry them across the River Thames. They trotted onto Tower Bridge. Suddenly an alarm sounded and lights flashed. A boat was coming and the bridge was opening to let it through. "Stop!" yelled Katy, but the lion didn't stop. He jumped. But instead of landing on the other side, they landed on the boat. They chugged along the river, passing great ships and going under dark bridges. "Look, that's the Globe Theatre," said the lion. "Shakespeare wrote some fine plays that they performed there, although very few of them had lines in them." "What's that big wheel over there?" asked Jack. "It must be the London Eye," said Katy. "Why don't we go on it?" "You don't expect me to go on that thing, do you?" said the lion, as they all jumped off the boat. Before the lion could say another word, Katy bustled him on board the London Eye. Slowly the wheel turned and they rose high above London. The poor lion turned rather pale and began to shake. But soon even he couldn't help enjoying the view. He pointed to Big Ben. "Goodness, it's nearly 11 o'clock. We must hurry." As they came down, Big Ben chimed 11 times. Katy and Jack jumped onto the line and they raced across a bridge past the huge clock and the Houses of Parliament. They hopped in and out of queues of traffic, past taxis and red double-decker buses, past parks and grand buildings. They could hear music and drums. "It's the changing of the guard," said the lion. "Follow me, left, right, left, right." The line marched off behind the guardsmen in time to the music. Katy and Jack followed all the way to the gates of Buckingham Palace, where the Queen lives. "Sorry," said a policeman, "only royal guards are allowed through here." So Katy and Jack jumped upon the line and he walked on past the palace. They hoped to see a real prince or princess. Instead, they noticed a lot of flags and crests with lines on them. The lion smiled. "I'm very well known by the royal family." "Why is that?" asked Katy. "Because the lion is called the King of the Beasts," said the lion proudly. And as they galloped away, perhaps they did catch a glimpse of someone waving from a palace window. By now the lion's paws were beginning to ache, so they all went to sit down in a leafy park. The lion dangled his paws in a cool lake. Jack bought ice creams with his pocket money. "Delicious," said the lion. "I love Tutti Frutti." "How are your paws?" asked Katy. "Rather sore," admitted the lion. "I'm not used to all this walking. Perhaps we can catch a bus back to Trafalgar Square." A policeman told them to catch a number 9 bus from Harrods, the big department store. "I wish I didn't have to go back," said the lion sadly. "Don't you like Trafalgar Square?" asked Katy. "Of course," said the lion, "but I do get such a very cold tummy lying on the stone all the time." Jack whispered in Katie's ear and they both smiled. They went inside Harrods and came out a few minutes later with a small parcel. Then they jumped onto the bus and travelled back to Trafalgar Square. "This is for you," said Jack, handing the parcel from Harrods to the Lion. "We bought it with the last of our pocket money." The Lion unwrapped it and laughed. "It's a woolly blanket." "It's to keep your tummy warm," said Katie. "How kind you are," sighed the Lion. "Thanks for showing us London," said Jack. "Next time I'll show you even more," said the Lion. Then Katie saw Grandma was waking up. The Lion hopped onto his stone and kept very still. And as the sun went in, he turned from gold to grey. "Hello, you two," said Grandma. "Shall we go off to see the sights now?" "Oh," said Katie, "I'm much too tired." "I need a rest," said Jack. And they both flopped down on a bench and fell asleep. I hope you enjoyed Katie in London. I hope you could spot some of the things here in the book. See you next time. Bye.